you can imagine. We've already had people coming in, obviously, and moving dirt, taking down the tree, the old lilac bush that we hated to part with. But the building will face that direction, and we hope Urban Good is doing a lot of the work for us. That'll all come out later in the paper. But Ronnie Brown was, most of you know, really the instrumental in getting this started. And his son, Ronnie passed away a bit ago, and his son Doug is going to speak to us today about the history of the pheasant.
Thank you. Well, Dad, he holds a lot of heavy equipment, valuable stuff in his life, and there was nothing compared to him holding this back in a long time. And he was so proud of the fact that he got to hold it back. He was even more proud of the people that helped get this thing bought and back to Memphis. He was happy about it. The rest of it I'm going to do is going to be reading, so don't kick my reading. The history of the Pheasant Airplane Company. The Pheasant Airplane Company was organized by Lee R. Briggs of Memphis, June of 27. Mr. Briggs also conducted a flying school. On December 5th, 1927, just 6 months later, he and student pilot Otis Oliver were both killed while flying a few miles north of Memphis. I think that was probably out around Fudd's house, Jed Hines. When somehow, for some reason, the plane flipped over and they both fell out of the plane. While approximately 1,000 feet, the airplane company suffered a serious tragic blow when Mr. Briggs was killed. The board of directors tried to regroup, but the spring of 1929, capital had dried up and the company was sold. Of course, that was probably right at the start of the Depression. The inventory, finished planes, moved to Wisconsin. No Pheasant H-10s were built in Wisconsin. There were 36 Pheasant H-10s built in Memphis. There were only 3 of these Pheasant airplanes still in existence. One is on display at EAA's Pioneer Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. One is on display at Western Development Museum in Saskatoon, Canada. The last but not least is our own H-10 on display at the Wiggins Family Museum. In August of 2011, Ronnie Brown, which I'll just call him Dad from now on, was looking through his trade-a-plane shopper and discovered an ad for an H-10 airplane. That was for sale on Long Island, New York. He called the owners about the price, and it was $75,000. Ronnie was very excited. I know he was, because he called me that night. And I thought, well, he's a bulldog. He ain't going to give up on this. The first person he talked to about it was Doc Wiggins, our local veterinarian. And Doc said neither one had $75,000 to buy the plane. At a local pilots meeting, the Memphis airport, in December, the idea of buying the Pheasant was discussed. Everyone agreed it was worth a try to raise the money for the Pheasant through donations. Also in December of 2011, Harlow Donaldson, or Dennis, took time out of his Christmas trip while visiting his son in New York to do some special sightseeing on Long Island where the Pheasant was raised. His report, he's a beauty. January of 2012, the first meeting was held in the Rotary Building in Memphis. Plans for raising money were discussed. The campaign began on April 1st, 2012. A total of $80,000 had been raised. People in this community and surrounding areas really stepped up. Plans were made in early April to go get the Pheasant and bring it home to Memphis. When the sale of the Pheasant was finalized, owners dropped the price to $70,000. Ronnie Brown, Dad, drove a semi and enclosed trailer courtesy of 5D Transportation, and Lou Prather rode with him. Fred Clapp, Stanley Myers, and Rodney Mulvaney drove their own vehicle. The Pheasant was started up and they took turns taxiing up and down the airstrip before partial disassembly and loading into the trailer. Unloading ceremony is held east of Memphis City Square and returned back home. Doc Wiggins graciously volunteered to house the Pheasant in one of Wiggins' family buildings. The Pheasant H-10 has been there for over 13 years. And it's very exciting to have the last Pheasant Airplane Museum here at the Downing House. That's all I've got.
Okay, we're going to have some guys and one special lady do the groundbreaking. We're going to put you just right along the dirt here so you don't have to go too far out. But I want Peggy Brown to be the first one out here. Peggy is Ronnie's wife, and like all good men, there's a really good woman behind him. And she did so much work and has been our historian. There is a photograph album inside that she has put together that has all of the history, and it's really well done, and we're looking at. So we say thank you. Doc Wiggins, he gave us a place to put the Pheasant once we brought it home, and it's still there. And if you haven't had a chance to see it, you need to go out and look at it. It's a nice deal. Yeah. And then Lou Prather, we'd like to have Lou come up. Lou rode with Ronnie in the truck. I think that was an experience in itself.
God bless you.
And then the next three, Fred drove our truck, and I think that was an even bigger experience for the two guys who were with him because he would not let Ronnie out of his sight. So that meant tailgating a semi, which I think Rodney thought that was in flag. So Fred, Rodney, and Audrey, and Stanley, all of you come out. Let me have you. And then we have Carlo, who really we owe a lot to because he was the first one to lay eyes on the Pheasant and came home, and with his enthusiasm and Ronnie's, it was something that just had to be happening, right? It had to happen. It had to happen. So let's get you over here.
Okay, down here, but
Yep.
Okay, that, cause we can handle that, thank you.
So this is the main crew. And it's hard for me to believe that was 13 years ago that we were all in the square and brought it in. But, okay, gentlemen and ladies, on three, I'll give you a shovel. 1, 2, 3. We're not digging too far. Great job. Thank you all. Thank you all for making the effort. And I appreciate what you've done. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what
I read